We're very excited to host a best practices on virtual instruction by our provost and a panel of faculty members.
Hello, everyone. This is Tayeb. I teach in the Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering. And I'm going to be talking about two of the techniques that I've been experimenting with that I find significantly improving the student engagement and building community among the students themselves. So the first one is what I call the embedded collaboration activities. For this particular activity, I use the Canvas Collaborations tab. You might need to enable it from the settings. I create a Google slide before the class starts with some preset questions, and you can see the video basically taking you through the process. And then during the synchronous Zoom class, I divide the students either randomly or based on their pre-assigned teams into breakout rooms. And then I have them go over the questions. I give them like 15 minutes. So you can see in the video, we have like group one consists of 3 students. The title is given, the questions are given, and they would simply use some of the resources like the textbook that we have to answer those questions. And after the end of the 15 minutes, they simply come back to the class and present their findings. And this way, I'm ensuring that the teams are sort of communicating with one another. Students love this to the extent that we tend to run out of time for most of the activities. And it also integrates within Canvas. So there are opportunities to grade them or archive them and the sort. Now, in the next slide, can we go to the next slide, please? Yeah, thank you. So in the next slide, I'm going to talk about briefly what I do for creating a study guide. I know most of us are sort of anxious with the final exams approaching. So this might be a really helpful tool for your students to feel like they really are prepared for the final exams. So for this particular study guide preparation, I post the following on Canvas as a discussion board. And I have been giving them extra credit just to entice participation. And I never mention how many % of extra credit. So that leaves my hands open depending on what ends up happening with the participation level. I post 3 questions. Of course, you can adapt them accordingly from how do you plan to prepare for the exam and what resources you want to use to specific topics that they feel like they have already gotten the gist of, so they don't need to study much for them, and the other side, so the least confident topics. And I use this the answers, particularly when designing the exam, to make sure I have my questions distributed over topics that most feel confident about and topics that I find define the rigor of the course. And then the third question, as you can see on the screen, is compiling a list of 6 new terms that they learned in the lectures with their definition. And I've pasted some of the feedback from students to other students' posts down there. So, for example, the very first one, there's a student that said, I had forgotten that those topics were part of this particular exam. So basically the other students' post reminded them about reading those. And also that can extend to other things, like they find each other's comments very useful. And this discussion board tends to just continue being built by the students. So this might be very helpful for the final exam preparation. Again, my name is Shahab Tayeb. I know we don't have much time, so I'll be happy to share any of my experience with you. My email is up there, and I'll turn it over to Brian.